But I kind of see the same thing happening in Bitcoin over these next few years, in the sense of, I think that Apple's been strategically out of Bitcoin up until now because they've been waiting to see what happens. And I think that Apple's going to come out with a product or something that's going to bring Bitcoin to the mainstream. And there's going to be a lot of people using Bitcoin without even knowing that they're using Bitcoin. And that's where it crosses the S curve. That's where it crosses the chasm. Yeah. And Apple's been famous for that, in the sense of, they're never the first to adopt something. They just wait, let it happen, let them basically get shot. The first one through the door gets shot. Mm-hmm. And then Apple swoops in and makes it very easy for the average person to understand. And I think that's a very viable next step for Bitcoin. And Tim Apple himself has said that he's a Bitcoiner. That was about 4 years ago.
What do you think would be some kind of like Apple move into Bitcoin? Would it be like on a medium of exchange side of like, you can pay things with your Bitcoin and like there's like a hot wallet natively on your iPhone or something?
I think that would make the most sense, where, again, people don't need to learn how to run in Lightning node. They don't need to keep track of 12 words. They can just essentially hold Bitcoin native in their device, because that's what this is. This is a private key. Anytime you're using a wallet on your phone, the phone is the private key. So why wouldn't it make sense for Apple to just fully encrypt that in there versus reliant on a third-party app to do that for you?
Yeah, that's where. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's where I think we're headed too.
I have because I think back to where because right now I think we're in the store of value phase. I think now we're still quite some time away from like massive Bitcoin adoption in the medium exchange side of things. Like even hardcore Bitcoiners sometimes don't use it as a medium exchange. Like I do get paid like almost every week now from some kind of partner, some kind of sponsor, something like that in Bitcoin. And I do pay quite some time actually in Bitcoin. And so we do have the medium exchange side of things, but I think it's too early for that. I think right now for the store of value side, that's why I was like curious what you think about the Apple side of things, because I think Apple integrating Bitcoin for medium exchange side of things wouldn't do a lot for the store of value of things outside of it being legitimized in people's eye, and maybe some people buy it. And I was thinking, maybe Stretch, something like that, is a more interesting way for the TradFi community, for the boomer in a retirement account wanting to have some fixed income, where they get the rating, the credit rating from the institutions that they all know, the BlackRock approval, it's in their app, and they can just like, oh yeah, instead of like an 8% yield, I get an 11% yield, and it's this like Stretch product. They're doing some fancy shit with Bitcoin, but I don't care, because there is some guarantee of a rating agency that I get my income. And they don't care about Bitcoin. They don't care at all what they're doing. They just want the 11% yield on a product instead of the 8% yield on a product.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's definitely possible, and I do agree in the sense that if Apple came out tomorrow and said, "Okay, we're adding Bitcoin payments to every smartphone," kind of the point that Sam raised when I was talking to him is, he said people are already used to tapping. People are already used to using their phone for everything, so it won't be a learning curve for them actually at all. It'll just be, and I think at that point it becomes, if it's that easy to do, if it's that easy to hold, I think that people will say, okay, this currency over here, they print every day. This currency over here, they don't print. I can probably estimate at this point, once there's this level of adoption, volatility's come down, you can kind of see what's going to happen there. And I think it's actually a very effective way to orange pill people, is just send them some sats on Lightning and leave it for a couple of years. And they'll say, holy shit, this $5 turned into $8 and then $10. And then they kind of see the value of it in that sense. But I think also too, in terms of businesses accepting Bitcoin, I think Forrest and I both agree in the sense that that's going to be the next driver from store of value to medium exchange. Once people who actually provide value to the world in the form of products and services, once they demand to be paid in Bitcoin, if people want to buy their products and services, they're going to have to find a way to pay them in Bitcoin. I think Apple easily facilitates that. But also from a business perspective, and like Jack Dorsey and Square, the fact that they're now allowing businesses to accept whatever the customer wants to pay in, and they can hold a portion of that in whatever amount, cash versus Bitcoin. I think this is just the very early stages of like businesses starting to have a Bitcoin reserve, a Bitcoin treasury, small businesses all around the world. And I think that these factors combined are going to be kind of the next driver of it to me.
Well, Saifedean has this sort of thesis where what pushes Bitcoin beyond where it is now is just an increased percentage of your account being Bitcoin, just more Bitcoin in your portfolio, more Bitcoin savings, essentially, for more people. And it's a sort of a very simple metric. It's something that, well, you can just say, well, obviously that's sort of a no-brainer, right? But it sort of makes it more meaningful to people when they have more of it, right? So it becomes more important. It becomes, okay, how do I spend this? What's the tax implication of that? Okay, well, the tax laws are unfair. I'm going to vote for people that are going to change. Like it's sort of a knock-on domino effect. If you already have Bitcoin, it becomes more important to you. And I think actually, like, it'd be hard for it's hard for me. Like I'm not an engineer. I don't work at Apple, so it's hard for me to imagine what Apple could do that would really push that forward. But Square and Block is a company that's, you know, up in the S&P 500. It's a massive company. They've developed payment systems. They've developed apps that are financial apps, and they are developing novel Bitcoin implementation and products. By implementing it into their Square terminals, I still think that's probably the biggest thing that happened last year. We still haven't really.
I was just going to say, maybe Square's the Apple in this consideration. Then we haven't really seen that play out yet. That's definitely possible.
It is possible, and that's what I was going to say too. Is just that we haven't seen it play out yet. It's still you know, the domino, like the little dominoes falling, and it's just starting to move other ones potentially behind the scenes and without you know, observable sort of evidence until it is obvious. And there, you know, I don't talk that much about the BitKey, but it's also very novel as a hardware wallet, and there's people that want that type of hardware wallet, and that's something that Block created, whereas a lot of the other sort of Bitcoin centered, you know, cypherpunk founded Bitcoin wallets are, in my opinion, what I do promote and what I do use personally. I find them better, but I see why the general public is off put by the 12 words and the passphrase or the multi-sig, and Block just simplifies it, right? And it's for a different audience, and that's sort of more of like an Apple type thing. So I mean, there's secure elements in phones already. If Apple, you know, implemented a secure element with a vault in there with their own software wallet, could that be big? I think so. That's something maybe that could happen. I don't know, but I definitely see that what Block did, as Block becomes, I mean, they just fired 40% of their employees or something like that.
They hold a lot of Bitcoin too, don't they? Like they're buying every month or every quarter.
A certain percentage of all of their Bitcoin endeavors goes towards buying Bitcoin. And they also have the proto mining rigs, which are very modular and replaceable and sort of innovative in a degree there, a little bit more of a premium. And I don't know how much adoption there is of that. But anyway, again, just novel Bitcoin ideas and innovation within that space from a company that's more within their sort of traditional tech companies. So I see them as maybe becoming the Apple of Bitcoin if Apple doesn't adopt it, right? Like,
and they're connected to businesses all around the world, like directly. Their devices are already in their hands pretty much for the most part.
Yeah. Big network.
I think Apple will 100% adopt it because they really want to get into this banking sector. They want to get into the transactions. They see what's going on. I mean, they have the Apple Card, they have the Apple Pay thing, they have credit on the Apple, they have all those things. And imagine, and I think it probably would be technical so easy for them to do something like that. Imagine they have a 3 out of 2 multisig enabled natively on all the Apple devices if you have a MacBook, an iPad, an iPhone, an Apple Watch, and you need like 2 out of those 4 to sign a transaction, would be probably not even that bad of a setup for like a hot wallet. I wouldn't store my life savings on it, but having like 5%, having like a few percent, or like just like what you have in a wallet or generally on there, would be a cool solution. Like imagine you have like the Apple Wallet in your phone, and you can pay from a multi-sig device on like a Starbucks thing with Apple Wallet, just like holding the things together and just like paying, and only those 2 things together can pay. Like there's a lot of interesting avenues that Apple could go down that we're not even considering now. But I do think they will do it the Apple way. They will do it once it's like clear path. Like think about how they opted in with the wireless headphones. They went into the game so late. There was already so many wireless headphones out there. And then they came in and they dominated the space. The same with the smartwatch. There were so many other providers that had smartwatches before, and not small providers. Samsung did it before Apple. And once they came in, they dominated the smartwatch game. And so I don't expect them to come in early. Not at all. Like I expect them to come in the late game, and I expect them to like really knock out on the customer experience, on like the super easy to use, come in our ecosystem.